Hi guys, and welcome to the Is It Worth It for the M4A3E8 Fury, the special edition Easy 8 that has been released in connection with the Fury movie that's currently in the cinemas. It is a Tier 6 Premium Medium American tank, and it is not available from the tech tree. In fact, the only place you can get your hands on it is from the gift shop. So there are currently 4 packages offering the Fury in the gift shop, and they are all pretty pricey. You got to remember, this is a Tier 6 premium vehicle, and this is quite expensive for a Tier 6 vehicle. But Wargaming have taken the direction of packages. They're not offering the tank on its own. You have to buy it in a package, and you have to buy it from the gift shop. Now, there are a lot of extras thrown in depending on which package you decide to buy, so it's quite pricey. If all you want is the tank, it's very, very expensive. But if you want some gold, some premium time, or some other extras thrown in, then it is possible that some of the packages might suit your budget. To be perfectly honest, I think the packages are all pretty good. For example, the most basic package is €29.99, about the same in dollars on the American server. But not only do you get the tank and the usual free tank slot, you also get a 100% trained crew, and the crew are named after the characters from the movie, but they're 100% and a lot of premium tanks. In fact, 99.9% of premium tanks come with a 50% crew, and they're terrible to drive with 50% or even 75% crews. So the fact you get a 100% crew straight away in this tank is very, very nice. Now, I was reviewing the tank and I could have done better with another crew. I could have put another medium crew in there. I've got a nice 4-skill American medium crew that I could have put into the Fury to review it, but in order to keep it a little bit more in connection to the movie, I decided to do all my review footage with the actual crew that came with the tank. So in the rest of the review, I've got no sixth sense, no skills, but the crew are 100%. Getting back to the package, the basic package also picks you up 5 barrack slots, which is probably only worth about 80 gold, and you also get 4,200 gold. So the package in itself is actually okay. 4,200 gold is usually going to set you back about €15. So when you consider that the tank comes with about €15 worth of gold, it makes it a little bit better. And that's just the basic package. The more expensive package, again, gets pretty much what the previous package does, but you get 8,000 gold and 30 days of premium. And about 3,000 gold and 30 days of premium will set you back €20. So overall, I think the package is pretty good if you want gold or if you want premium time. It starts to get a little bit more expensive than that, unfortunately. For $65.99, you can get the Fury tank, 2 garage slots, and a 8.8 or a Jagdtiger 88, plus the barrack slots, plus 5,000 gold, no premium time in this package. But basically, you're picking up a Tier 8 premium tank along with the Fury and all the extras and 5,000 gold for $65.99. Very expensive, but if you were to buy each of these things individually, I think this package is well worth it, depending on whether or not you want the gold, depending on whether or not you want the Jagdtiger 88, because normally you'll be paying close to about €45 for the Jagdtiger 88 on its own. So the fact you get the Jagdtiger and 5,000 gold pretty much means the Fury and the slot for the Fury are free. So I think that's a pretty good package, but again, it is very, very expensive. And finally, we've got the big package, the €100 package, and I, to be honest, don't think this one is worth it. I think of all the packages, the 3 earlier ones are more value for money. What you get in the big package is you get the Fury, and you get the garage slot, and you get the barrack slot, and the 100% crew. You're paying €100 for basically 10,000 gold. Now that may seem like a lot of gold, but that's not enough gold to buy another Tier 8 premium tank. So in the previous package that's much, much cheaper, you get a Tier 8 premium tank. In this one, 10,000 gold doesn't buy you a Tier 8 premium tank. It might buy you a lot of other tanks, but it's not going to get you a for example, IS-6, T-34. Usually those premium tanks are all around 1,300 or 13,000 to 14,000 gold. So it's quite expensive for the package, and the gold, even though you get quite a lot, isn't enough to get you another premium tank. It does give you 10 million credits, but if you've got a couple of premium tanks, it only takes a day or two of grinding premium tanks to actually get 10,000 credits, and I don't ever see myself paying real money in order to get credits. But 10 million credits, I suppose if you're short on credits and you really need credits, it might be worth it, but I don't think so. And you get the 30 days of premium. So I think the packages are expensive. I think it's a shame if someone just wanted the tank and can't really afford to pay for a package, but overall I think the first 3 packages are well worth the deal, and I think the last one is very situational, depending on whether you want gold or whether you want credits. But I don't think 100 euros is worth the tank, no matter how good the tank might be. So let's get back to the tank, and the question we're going to be asking today is this tank worth one of those expensive packages in the gift shop? Now, I do want to put out a special shout out to Tanza, because on Monday, when the tank became available, I logged on. Wasn't able to play Monday, unfortunately, but I logged on to World of Tanks in order to check out the packages to figure out whether or not I was going to buy one, and sitting in my inbox was a gift of a Fury from Tanza. So this review today is being brought to you by Tanza. I'm just the spokesperson, so thank you very much, Tanza. Really generous, and I appreciate it. I don't receive very many gifts, and it is very nice to receive one as nice as the Fury. So sir, you are a scholar and a gentleman. But we're moving back on to this tank, and it's basically the Easy 8, and the Easy 8 is in-game already. Now, before we start, there is the regular Easy 8. Something I just happened to notice while I was in the garage is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the top of the Fury tank. We'll just get the commander's hatch just under the top of this sign. You can see the sign in the background. And the commander's hatch is lined up just underneath the sign here. So I've got the Fury here, and I'm going to switch to the Sherman. And look at all that sign space. And we're going to switch back to the Fury. And even though it's the same tank, it seems that the Fury is bigger. I didn't realize that until I was starting the review. So the Fury is a high definition model. The Sherman, the Easy 8 in-game, is not high def, but it is a different size. The Fury is bigger than the in-game Sherman. So whether or not, I've heard rumors that the in-game Sherman is going to be getting an HD model rework, and whether or not it gets bigger as a result of that HD model work is going to be interesting, but it is definitely bigger than the in-game Easy 8. Anyway, I think the tank looks fantastic. It is an HD model. I haven't seen the movie, but I think it looks awesome. It's one of these tanks that has character. You've got a German helmet here, a spare wheel. You've got your logs on the side, almost Russian in that respect. You've got some crates on the back. I think the tank looks absolutely fantastic. You've got the Fury written on the barrel. I really do like the look of this tank. It is awesome. And as a collector, even before finishing the review, I can say that if you're a tank collector, you're going to want to get your hands on this tank because it is a limited edition and it looks awesome. So as per usual, I'm going to start briefly with the history of the Easy 8, and it's called the Easy 8 because it's a variant of the M4 Sherman. It's a M4A3E8, and that was shortened or nicknamed to the Easy 8. It's a tank that was designed and entered into mass production in late 1944, so it came to the war quite late. So it entered into mass production towards the end of 1944. It saw its first combat in March 1945, and about 4,500 Easy 8s were manufactured. It's basically a more mobile version of the original M4 Sherman. It's more mobile, it got more armor, and its gun was improved. So it got the 76mm gun, but the characteristics of the gun were improved in real life as well. There were a couple of different variants of the EZ8, but that was mainly with regards to the suspension. There were 2 different types of suspension used on the tank, but it's a very, very iconic tank, and I think most people who have any interest in tanks whatsoever know exactly what the EZ8 is. So we're going to take a quick look at the stats. Now, it's basically just a variant. It's not even a variant. It's an EZ8. So we're going to bring up the details here of the Fury. And we're going to bring up... I actually repurchased the Sherman. I repurchased the EZ8 just for this review. Sometime in the future I'll get around to playing this tank again, but I enjoyed the EZ8 the first time I played it, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was a noob when I played this tank first time round. As per usual, I try to compare it against the other premium tanks in the game, and there's only one other premium medium tank at tier 6, and that is the Panzer IV Schulterm. So we'll move this up here, and we're going to take a quick look across the stats. Now, this is a fully upgraded or an elated EZ8, but we're focusing on the Fury, and we can see it gets 750 hit points, which is identical to the in-game version of the EZ8, and is actually more hit points than the Schulterm. It's a heavier tank than I first thought. It comes in at about 38 tons, and for some reason that makes it heavier than the in-game E8. Maybe it's because of all those logs and helmets and crates tacked onto the outside of it, but it is heavier than the in-game E8, and that makes the acceleration a little bit worse. Not by much, but it does make it a little bit worse, but it is significantly heavier than the Schulterm. When it comes to engine power, it's okay. It's got a 500 horsepower engine compared to the 520 in-game for the E8, and the Schulterm has got a terrible engine at 300 horsepower. So the horsepower to weight ratio is actually pretty good, but the in-game EZ8 is actually better. It gets a more powerful engine, it's a lighter tank, so it accelerates faster, and it also has a faster top speed. So if we take the top speed of the Fury, it comes in at 41, almost 42 kilometers an hour, compared to the EZ8 in-game, which is 48 kilometers an hour, and the Schulterm is also 48 kilometers an hour. However, because it's got a fairly decent engine, it can reach its top speed quite well, and it's not that much slower. It does feel a little bit slower than the E8, but not by much. It really doesn't affect the handling that much. It does have better traverse speed. In fact, the traverse speed on the Fury is very good. It comes in at 44 degrees per second compared to 40 on the in-game EZ8 and 36 on the Schulterm. The turret traverse, again, is pretty good. The in-game EZ8 has slightly faster turret traverse, but 38 degrees per second is pretty good, and both of those tanks are significantly better than the Schulterm. This is kind of a weird tank. It has its own playstyle. But these two are very similar in so many ways. The hull armor is identical on both tanks. 63mm to the front, 38mm to the side and rear of the hull. Basically, the armor on this tank means that you don't bounce very many shots. Anything that shoots at you will usually pen. Expect to be penned when tanks shoot at you, and that way, when you do actually manage to bounce a shot, it's a pleasant surprise. But the armor isn't very good. This isn't the Sherman Jumbo, this is the EZ8, and it doesn't have very good armor. The turret is a completely different story. Even though they are both similar turrets, for some reason the Fury gets 63mm all around, whereas the in-game EZ8 gets 76mm to the front and 51 to the side and rear. What that basically means is even though it's the same turret, the Fury has less frontal armor on the turret, but more side and rear, and the in-game EZ8 is definitely better armored to the front. I don't understand the discrepancy, but there are rumors that when the EZ8 in-game gets its high-definition model, its HD model, it will be more comparable to the Fury, but we'll have to see what happens. The view range is pretty good at 370 meters, which is comparable to the in-game EZ8 and the Schulterm, although I do do recommend, pretty much like the other tanks here, to try and boost that view range with coated optics or binocs. The signal range, however, is not great. 570 is okay, but on a tier 6 you can find yourself losing contact with some of your allies on the battlefield. The fully upgraded Easy 8 and the Short-Term have the signal range beaten, but it's not that much worse. So basically, it is an Easy 8. It's a little bit slower, it has less frontal turret armor, but it's got faster traverse speed. And really, they're the main differences. The gun is identical, and pretty much most of the stats on the tank are identical to the in-game Easy 8. So if you're wondering whether or not you'd like the Fury or whether or not you want to buy the Fury, I do recommend possibly grinding up. It's not that long a grind, it's only a tier 6 tank, but basically, if you can play the Easy 8 and you like the Easy 8 in-game and you can do quite well in this tank, then you're absolutely going to love the Fury, because the differences between the two tanks are very, very minor. So let's talk about this gun. It is the 76mm M4A3E8, and if we come down to the Sherman and we check out the final gun, it's exactly the same gun. So unlike a lot of premium tanks that have probably slightly worse guns than the top guns of their in-game counterparts, the Fury has the identical gun. It has an identical gun to the final gun on the Easy 8. So you can see that it is identical. Same rate of fire, penetration, alpha damage, accuracy, aim time, even they weigh the same. It's exactly the same gun. So it is a really, really nice thing to see. It's a 76mm that has an amazing rate of fire of 18.18, and that can be buffed with equipment choices. Now, because it's the final gun on the in-game Easy 8, it means it's very, very competitive. It's got 128mm of penetration with its standard AP. That means that the standard AP is going to pretty much be able to handle most lower tier tanks, most tanks of the same tier, quite a few tier 7s, and maybe even a lot of tier 8s if you can get to the side and rear. But if you're facing or have to take frontal shots at angled tanks that are higher tier than you, unfortunately sometimes the penetration can let you down. Also, the penetration on the Fury, and it's been so long since I've driven the Easy 8 in game, but the penetration on the Fury does seem to drop off quite a bit at distance. So even firing at tanks that I should be able to pen at distance, I was finding the gun was bouncing a lot. But as I say, for those situations where the ammo is not good enough, or 128mm of penetration is not good enough, you've got very, very good premium ammo at 177mm of penetration. So it means that if you're willing to load up some premium ammo on this tank, and I really, really do recommend having at least some premium ammo on the tank, you are going to be able to handle higher tier tanks. And you have to handle higher tier tanks because the Fury, just like the in-game Easy 8, doesn't get special matchmaking. You will be seeing tier 7s, you will be seeing tier 8s, and in fact, of the 24 games I played for this review, I think probably about 2 out of every 3 games was a tier 8 or at least a tier 7 game. So I was playing against a lot of higher tier tanks, and I was happy that I had the premium ammo on the tank. The alpha damage is 115 with both the standard AP and the premium ammo, and when you consider you've got a rate of fire of 18.18 that can be buffed, 115 alpha damage, you've got DPM that is well over 2000, and again it can be buffed with equipment and crew choices.
Enemy armor is hit. We didn't even scratch them. Penetration. Enemy is hit. Penetration. Enemy vehicle destroyed. That one didn't go through. Penetration. Enemy armor is damaged.
So this tank has amazing DPM and a really, really good gun. The accuracy lets it down a little bit. Unfortunately, it's only got 0.4 accuracy, which is not fantastic, but it's good enough. You will find yourself missing shots you should hit, but you'll also find yourself hitting shots at very, very small targets. It can be quite accurate, it can be quite inaccurate, but it's okay because you've got the ammo and you've got the rate of fire to be able to miss a few shots even at long range. The aim time is a little bit slow at 2.3 seconds, but really I didn't find myself running into too many issues where the gun was reloading before I was able to aim it. So I think the gun overall is very, very good, and like I say, if you're not sure about whether or not to get this tank, play the Easy 8 in-game. It's exactly the same gun, it performs exactly the same way, so it's a very, very good comparison. So we're going to check out the gun. We're mainly going to be focusing on the gun on this replay. We're going to be looking at the penetration, we're going to be looking at the standard AP and the premium ammo, we're going to be looking at the accuracy. But just starting off, it's a tier 6. I'm a tier 6 and a tier 7 game here on Westfield. It's a 59%er, so it should be quite comfortable, but who knows. And you can see that the acceleration uphill isn't great. We're still doing 16 kilometers an hour, but the Easy 8 in-game would be much, much faster up here. It's got a more powerful engine and it's a lighter tank, but not by much. So it's taking us quite a long time to get up to the top of the hill. This is one of the first games I played in the tank. And this was a game where I was actually testing out the... I actually went into this game to check out the gun. So, there we go, first shot at 388 meters, and 2 shots go in, and look at the accuracy. 2 shots were perfect, 1 shot goes low, and we finally get the kill. So it took 4 shots, 3 of them hit, and 1 went very low, and that's the 0.4 accuracy. So 59-16 is down with the regular AP, and I'm going to be using... basically my team to spot for me. As I said, I just want to check out the gun, get a nice track shot on another E2 over there. Or not even another E2, that's the Jumbo. So he's got better frontal armor. Trying to track this Comet. And you can see that the accuracy is actually pretty good. And as I say, sometimes you will miss a shot and you're wondering how the heck you missed it, and other times you're able to snipe cupolas at 500 meters. It really is a strange tank. But the rate of fire is fantastic, the aim time is okay. So I'm wondering if maybe I should go for a couple of blind shots on a Tog. But he doesn't enter into my render range. And I decide I'm just wasting my time up here. So I do have decent view range, so I don't mind being on the front line. There's a pretty good chance I'm going to spot enemy tanks before they spot me. And I just move up so I can get into a better position. And try and get shots down on this T-34-1, the Sherman Jumbo. There we go. Failed to penetrate. That was a bad bounce. Another bounce. He's at a bad angle for me. But standard AP, orange reticule on the front of the tank. Orange reticule on the side of the turret, and that shot goes very, very low. But here we go. Here's a Tog. This is easy. I should easily be able to penetrate a Tog with my standard AP, but we've just ricocheted. We've just bounced again. We've got his side. So we're just going to work. You can see the DPM here. Critical hit, no damage. And I don't get the kill. But we bounced a couple of shots, or just pen tracks for no damage on a Tog, and I would have expected the standard AP to be able to do okay in that situation. But as I say, the gun, it's weird. Sometimes it works, and occasionally it doesn't. But the rate of fire means that even if you do bounce a couple of shots, you'll be able to get another shot off fairly soon afterwards. So again, we're advancing. We've lost the north of the map. And a beautiful shot on the move. So something that the Easy 8 is very, very good at is shooting on the move. So that was 2 shots on the move, 2 shots into the M5 Stuart. And I do recommend vert stabs. I'll go into that when I talk about the equipment later on. But the Easy 8 is definitely a good tank to put vert stabs on. A little bit of lag, but we take out the Jagdpanzer IV, and you can see that the accuracy is decent at range. So we've lost the north of the map, and I'm going to go back just in case I need to defend, and then a Tiger appears in the village. And I'm on my regular ammo, but I switched to premium ammo because I was getting an orange reticule on the front of the Tiger. So that was 456 meters, and that shot goes in as well. So the fact I can hit targets at 456 meters with this gun is pretty cool. I think one of the biggest benefits, or one of the biggest bonuses to the Fury, is the fact that it is basically the Easy 8. Now, while I was doing the games or playing the games for this review, I was actually getting a lot of abuse. I was being accused of being a wallet warrior. I was getting quite a bit of abuse for buying a tank that's in the game already. You know, more money than sense. One player basically told me I had more money than sense. Basically because I was buying a tank that existed already. Premium ammo, no problem going through the Tiger. And look at that shot, that shot goes really, really low. But why would you spend money? I mean, I suppose from a neutral point of view, you can see someone's point of view. That it's a lot of money to spend on a tank that's already in the game. But on the other hand, the Easy 8 in-game is competitive even against tanks of higher tier. And very few premium tanks can say that. So the fact I'm buying a premium tank that is basically as good as an in-game tank, but it's premium, is one of the reasons I like the Fury. But you can see that we did 2,193 damage there. We did need to switch to some premium. I probably didn't need to fire premium ammo on the side of the T29 at the end, but I did need to fire premium at the side of the Tiger. So the gun is pretty good. It does miss occasionally. The shots go very low or very high, but it's accurate enough to be able to snipe with. It's a very, very solid tier 6 premium tank gun. So let's talk about the crew. And you have 5 crew members. You've got a commander, a gunner, a driver, a radio operator, and a loader. So it is a very, very good crew trainer. If we take a look at the tech tree, some of the lower tier American tanks don't match up the crew. For example, the M3 Lee needs an extra gunner. But once you hit the M4 Sherman at tier 5, every single other medium tank all the way up to tier 9 have the same crew configuration. So it's a very, very good crew trainer. So all the way from the Sherman at tier 5 up to the Patton at tier 9 have the same crew configuration. The tier 10 is a little bit different because the tier 10 doesn't have a radio operator. It only has 4 crew members, but that means that you can train up a crew for the tier 10 providing you are okay with having a radio operator left lying around. So it's a very, very good crew trainer. And not only is it a very, very good crew trainer, but if we consider that there are also 2 other premium medium tanks available for the American lines in the Super Pershing and the Ram 2, it means if you get your hands on the Fury and you have 1 or 2 of these other tanks in your garage, you can train up American medium crews very, very quickly. They all have the same crew configuration. So let's talk about equipment, and there are a lot of equipment choices available for this tank. It's going to take quite a while to go through them all. But basically, vert stabs is something I do recommend on this tank. This tank, just like the in-game version, is quite good at shooting on the move. You've got a rapid-firing gun, and vert stabs basically help you when you're shooting your gun while moving or shooting your gun while moving your turret. I do recommend putting vert stabs on this tank. It is very fast, it is very mobile, and you are going to find yourself shooting on the move quite a lot. So vert stabs is a definite must for me. Toolbox is possible if you've got a spare equipment slot and a spare toolbox, but I think there are much better pieces of equipment to put on this tank. I think it's more important to get a fast repair crew, but until your crew are skilled in the repair skill, maybe a toolbox is a viable option. It depends on how you play the tank. I don't get set on fire very much. I think out of 24 games I remember 1, possibly 2 engine fires yesterday. So yeah, I don't think it's worth it because I think there are better pieces of equipment you can put on the tank. An enhanced gun laying drive is a possibility depending on whether or not you're having problems with the aim time on the gun. I haven't noticed any significant problems with it, but if you find that maybe it is reloading faster than you can aim, then an enhanced gun laying drive is a possibility. It is completely up to you. Coated optics are a very viable choice, and there were many times yesterday during my play session to gather footage for this review that I regretted not putting coated optics on the tank. Pretty much every second game I kind of regretted not having coated optics because this tank is fast, it's mobile, I was constantly on the move, and I wished I'd had coated optics. But then again, every second game it was a big open map and I was maybe playing it a little bit passively, wanted to do some sniping, I was bottom tier in a tier 8 game, and then the binocs helped me, whereas the coated optics wouldn't have. Really, either of these choices are very good, and in some cases I found myself regretting not having the optics, and in some cases I was glad to have the binocs. I do recommend one or the other, but I guess it's really up to your playstyle. As you can see with binocs, I've got my view range up to 472, and if I put coated optics on, I would get close to 400 basic view range with just the coated optics. So it's really up to your playstyle, but I do recommend one of these two. A medium caliber gun rammer is also another possibility because it gives you 10% DPM on a machine that has a lot of DPM in the first place. However, I felt that the gun rammer probably wasn't viable due to the fact that if I put the gun rammer on, then I might start having problems with my aim time, and then I would probably need an enhanced gun laying drive. The rate of fire on the tank is very good, and basically I prefer to go for vents over the gun rammer, but it is up to you. A medium spall liner is a possibility. I died a few times yesterday getting one shot by SU-152s and KV-2s, but this tank doesn't have a lot of armor, and I've got a feeling if you put a medium spall liner on it anyway, I still think that the HE would penetrate and do full damage. I haven't tested it, but it's really up to you. I don't think it's worth it. I think there are better pieces of equipment. Enhanced springs, I don't think the tank is fast. It's fast, but it's not fast enough to warrant putting enhanced springs on. Wet ammo rack is a possibility. I was ammo racked a couple of times in this tank, but I don't think I was ammo racked enough to warrant it. But again, it depends on what's happening when you're driving it. Your experience may differ from mine. Improved vents is something I definitely went for on this tank because I like the extra view range, I like the extra DPM, and the extra aim time. I think vents are a very viable choice for this tank, but you may prefer another piece of equipment. Camo net is completely down to your playstyle. Unlike the review I did a couple of days ago where I didn't recommend a camo net because the tank couldn't snipe, the Easy 8 or the Fury can snipe when it needs to. It can be aggressive, it can be a flanker, but it can also snipe when it needs to, so a camo net is a viable choice. Maybe you might want to put binocs and a camo net on this tank and use it more as a passive sniper because it's something that the tank can do. It's not brilliant at it, but it's something it can do, and if you're willing to fire some premium ammo, those shots at distance will definitely do damage. Okay folks, it is time for the overview game, a game where I show you as many strengths and weaknesses of whatever tank I am reviewing. And we are here on Himmelsdorf on a 51%er, so it's a close game. But I'm top tier, it's a tier 6 game, so a nice matchup for the Fury. So first of all, you can see that we are already doing our maximum speed of just over 41 kilometers an hour, because the acceleration on this tank, even though it's not as good as the Easy 8 in-game, is still very, very good. Our speed drops off as soon as we decide to go hill, and I am going hill. I'm a medium tank, so I want to get up the hill. Speed has dropped off, and the in-game Easy 8 would be able to get up to the top of the hill slightly faster, but not by much. So the Fury is still a very, very fast medium tank. So my plan is to get to the top of the hill and basically deal with whatever tanks are up here, and then maybe snipe down towards the middle. Now there is a Tog platoon on the enemy team, and in a game prior to this, we had a 3-man Tog platoon on a standard game on Himmelsdorf, and they decided to go hill. And by the time they reached the top of the hill, most of our team were dead in town. But thankfully, I'm hoping that the enemy Togs don't come up the hill. So T-34, Hellcat and Fury on the enemy team have been spotted. I've got a T-34 and a Fury covering my back. So my plan is to move down and start getting shots into this VK 3001 or 3601H. I've been doing a lot of talking and recording today, so my voice is starting to go. But I'm using my gun depression, and we've just bounced. I'm firing regular AP. We bounced again. And I've got a green reticule. And that's 3 bounces. Let's go back to work. So I'm hitting him, but I've bounced a lot of shots. There's another bounce. And he hit me directly in the gun. That hit my gun. The shot actually penned me through the gun barrel. So he takes out my gun, but you can see that even though the best armor on the tank is the front of the turret, he was still able to pen me through my gun. So I've used my repair kit, and our T-34 goes down, but shooting on the move is very, very good. This tank is just so good at shooting on the move. So it's just a showdown against between the two Furies. So I'm staying hull down, pumping shots into the enemy Fury, and he gets taken out. So I'm quick enough, I'm in a medium tank, and I'm going to be doing some flanking. So again, you can see that the gun is really, really good shooting on the move. Really, really recommend using vert stabs. There's kill number 2. And now I've got shots, I've got the gun depression to be able to shoot the tanks down below me. And you can see the rate of fire, you can see the aim time. I was able to bounce the Crusader. I've got the rear of the turret of the VK. There's kill number 3, there's kill number 4. No more shots down below. And this tank, because it's a medium tank, and because it's competitive, even though it doesn't get special matchmaking, although to be honest, I think if this tank got special matchmaking, it would be overpowered. But because it's basically the Easy 8 from in-game, it's competitive with the added bonus of actually being a premium tank, so you earn credits, and it's a very good crew trainer. But we have the speed. We are doing 50 kilometers downhill. We've got the speed to be able to get over. We've got the speed to be able to maneuver around the map, change flanks, and I'm going to be doing some flanking. So my plan is to sneak up behind these Togs and this Matilda and start doing some more damage. Unfortunately, I have to drive through the cap circle to do it, so they might know I'm coming. But we're doing 41 kilometers along the straight here. And I do like the fact you can play this tank just like a medium should be played. You can flank, get to the side and rear. You can get around the map. So I decide, while the Togs aren't focused on me, I'm going to take the one at the back. Maybe the Togs won't notice. So we take out the Matilda for kill number 5. And now I can start working on the Tog, but his friend is coming up. So no armor. He's able to pen me through my tracks, so I'm wondering. Nope, I was going to let my repair crew repair the tracks, but unfortunately he gets another shot in. I actually didn't think he had a shot on me, so I don't have that many hit points left. So the Tog is going to work on the other Fury. And he's just fired. So I take him out again with a shot on the move. Can go to work on his platoon mate. And again, shooting on the move. And take him out for kill number 7. So this is a very, very strong premium tank, and it's a negative that it doesn't get premium matchmaking, but as I say, if it got premium matchmaking, this thing would be overpowered. It's basically the in-game Easy 8, and that makes it competitive, and not very many premium tanks can say they're competitive, and that's why I think I like the Fury quite a lot. Okay folks, time to sum up. Is the Fury worth it? Well, there's a lot to like about this tank. Now, I don't mean just aesthetically, it's a beautiful tank. Really, really nice to look at. It's really, really well modeled. I love the detailing. So, yep, that's a positive. But there are a lot of other positives as well. It plays like a typical medium tank. It's got the acceleration, it's got the traverse speed to be able to flank enemy tanks, to be able to get to the side and rear of enemy tanks. It's got the speed to be able to get into a position early or get out of a position and retreat and relocate to somewhere else on the map. It plays like a typical medium tank should. It has amazing gun depression. It's a hill warrior. You can use its gun depression on hills. It's a fantastic crew trainer. It makes money. It's a good credit earner as well. It's got an amazing gun. Really, really punchy gun that may be not that competitive against tier 8 tanks, but if you're willing to fire some premium ammunition, it's got amazing DPM and can pretty much hurt most of the tanks it's going to be facing against. There's so much to like about this tank, including, oh yeah, the view range is also very, very good on the tank. Lots and lots of positives. Now, there are some negatives. Probably the biggest negative is, why would you even want a Fury when it's just a cut and paste from the Easy 8 in-game? And that's a valid negative. It's also a basic, it's the model for the Fury is bigger than the Easy 8 is in-game. So the Easy 8 is a big target. It's a tall medium tank, and that's one of its weak points in-game, and the Fury is even bigger. So you're a bigger target even though you're a medium tank. The engine power, it is lacking. I mean, it's a great engine power, but there is a noticeable difference in engine power, especially when going uphill, compared to the Easy 8 in-game. But it's minor. It's very, very minor. But it is slower. It is about 6-7 kilometers slower than the in-game Easy 8. But it's still a quick tank, but it is a negative. The signal range isn't fantastic either. It has no armor, and basically you'll get one hit killed by arty, you'll get one hit killed by derp guns, KV2s, SU-152s. The armor is terrible, and the hit points aren't that big enough to prevent you from getting one hit killed. I mean, for example, an IS-3 will 2-hit kill you, and so the survivability of this tank is very, very low, but on the other hand, because it is quite maneuverable, you really, really got to avoid being hit in this tank. So I think that the tank has a lot of positives. I think it has a lot of negatives, but overall, I think the tank is a very fun tank to play. So we come back to the question, is it worth it? Well, I'm trying to be logical on this, and I'm going to say that, listen, it's a cut and paste from the Easy 8 in-game. The two tanks handle almost identically, they play almost identically, they get the same matchmaking, they get the same armor, same hit points, they get the same gun. Basically, it's the same tank, and in that situation, if you look at it like that, paying a lot of money for the Fury probably isn't worth it because you can play the Easy 8 in-game for free anyway. But, and there is always a but, I think the packages are worth it. I think the packages that Wargaming have put out, even though they're expensive, the extras that are being thrown in along with the Fury, make the price worth it. It all depends on whether or not you want the gold, whether or not you want the credits, whether or not you want the extras. So I think the packages themselves are worth it, even though they are expensive. It just depends on what you want from the game. Also, yes, it may be a cut and paste job from the Easy 8. It's the same bloody tank, but the major difference for me, I think, is the fact it's a premium tank. Now, when I take a look at the American medium tanks, we've got the Super Pershing, we've got the Ram 2. Now, the Super Pershing, personally, I think it's an underrated tank. I think it's value for money, but we'll get more into that when I do the review for it. But I know a lot of people hate the Super Pershing, and I know it's not a lot of fun to play, especially with bad crews. And when we come to the Ram 2, the Ram 2 I think is a pretty solid tank. I mean, it's probably worth the money for a Ram 2, but it's not an exciting tank, and unfortunately sometimes it's a little bit situational. So that just leaves the Fury as option number 3, a brand new option number 3 for training up American medium crews. And the difference between this tank and the previous two is this tank is a lot more fun to play for me. I enjoy playing the Fury a lot more than I do the other two tanks, even though it's just an easy 8. But the benefits of having a tank where I can train up new crews, don't have to transfer them like I would with the in-game Easy 8, the fact that I'm earning money while playing the Fury, it's a really, really big bonus for me. I think the tank does have some weaknesses, but so does the in-game Easy 8. I think it's expensive, but I think the packages are worth it. And even though it is a cut and paste job, I think I will be playing, I'm far more likely to play the Fury more often than I am the Ram 2 or the Super Pershing. I think I have found my new American tank crew trainer because it's fun to play, and even when it gets bottom tier in a tier 8 game, it's still competitive. But you're not going to miss out on much. I mean, really, I think there are better value premium tanks you can buy in the game, but I don't think if you spend money on the Fury, you'll be disappointed. I actually do think it's worth it, even though it's a cut and paste job, as so many people have told me in-game chat. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.